Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra on UBC TV. Many thanks for being with us from the hour of 6:30 till now with an extension of Good Morning Uganda. In case you've just joined, I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, and I'm excited because of the nature of the topic that I'm going to be discussing and its relevancy in the digital world. And today I'm going to be handling protecting personal data in the digital world. Now, we're in the digital world, and many youngsters are excited. There are even a number of sayings, digital, you know, showing that, well, we are moving with the trend. But there are also so much risks, much as there's so many importance of this digital world. Now, government of Uganda has what they call the Personal Data Protection Office. Have you heard of this? Well, in case you've never, or you have, but you don't have sufficient information, I have two gentlemen with me in studios with whom we are going to be discussing more regarding personal data protection and what this office does. Now I have Baker Biri Kuja, who is the manager compliance and investigations. You're most welcome to our studios.
Thank you. Good morning, and congratulations on successfully pronouncing my name correctly.
Then just next to me I have a young lad, and that is Norman Kushaba, who is Officer Data Protection Affairs Department. You're most welcome, and good morning.
Okay, thank you, Robert, and thank you for hosting us.
Now, allow me begin by understanding, and I'll have Baker here. What does this office do? What is your mandate? Why established by an act of parliament? You know, so that my viewers get to understand you and know better, because that will determine the authenticity of the people I have to discuss the topic at hand.
Thank you, Robert, and good morning to the UBC viewers. Thank you for joining us to talk about this very important topic, answering your question of who we are and where are we coming from. We come from a government agency called the Personal Data Protection Office. It's established by an Act of Parliament, the Data Protection and Privacy Act of 2019, and it was further operationalized by regulations of 2021, the Data Protection and Privacy Regulations. This office was put in place to operationalize Article 27 of the Constitution that talks about the right to privacy, that an individual, any person living in Uganda, concerning any information from which you can be identified, your name, assigned numbers such as your phone number or national ID number, or tax registration, tax identification number, and any other. We regulate as a government agency the collection, processing and use of such data, and even its sharing. So this office is a regulator in nature, but it also has an aspect of investigation, whereby any person who misuses such data, we investigate them in liaison with Uganda Police. But then we also have the element of registering every person who actually collects and uses such personal data. So that is who we are. We are an independent office established in an already existing agency of government. That is the National IT Authority of Uganda, NITAU.
Now, a quick one on that. Why is it important to have this data protected? Because one would think, if I've given my information, maybe I'm registering for a SIM card, maybe anything, why is it important?
The importance of collection and protection of data is not unique to Uganda. It dates as far back as, to take a bit of history. Back in the day, 1500 AD, individuals used to have houses that were open with no demarcation of where the kitchen was, or even the bedrooms for that matter. But increasingly, most especially families that were growing in number, they sensed that they needed at least a bit of privacy, creating rooms and walls to separate them. So that is where the aspect of privacy comes in, what is ordinarily known as to be left alone. So this went on to the element of government creating registers of who you are, who your lineage is, where identification of individuals comes in, and issuing identification cards. Unfortunately, this information relating to individuals was misused, most especially in the early wars. It played a key role in the world wars, but also in some of other wars whereby individuals were targeted because of their social background or even ethnicity. So the United Nations in 1948, under the UN Charter of Human Rights, included it as a right which governments needed to recognize. Uganda being part of the UN, this right was recognized in our Constitution of 1995. But between 1995 to 2016, we had so many other sectoral laws in the communication sector talking about confidentiality, that if a telecom is actually to collect your data regarding your phone usage or even what is collected by the mass, it needs to be kept confidential. And then in the banking sector, we had an array of other laws talking about still to do with the transactional details of your account and what they collect about you or even share. It became hard for an individual who needed to enforce, assert their rights to deal with so many government agencies. So according still to international standards, it's advised that a comprehensive law is enacted. And that is why Uganda enacted the Data Protection and Privacy Act, creating one regulator that an individual can interface with, and even organizations to be advised on compliance, where any element of investigation, registration, and even guidance can actually come in. And that is where our office comes in and why we have such a law and it being implemented in Uganda.
Now this brings me to Norman. He talked about why we should protect our data. And Norman, I know you're the expert in this field. Now let's look at what are the potential threats. What, if I'm talking about protection, that means I'm guarding against something. You know, so what are these threats?
Thank you, Robert. First of all, I want our viewers out there to understand what our threats are in the context of cybersecurity or data protection. So threats. So as we moved into digital world, as we transact online, everything now is becoming, you know, we are going into digital. You're here and you can, let's say, order a cup of tea online. So everything is digital. So in doing that, remember, we have to download some apps and feed in our detail to access such services. But it's posing a great risk onto our data that we feed into those applications. So we have quite a number of threats. I will look at a few, because if there are quite many, we may spend a day here discussing about the threats. Yeah, so one of them, we have phishing attacks. Yes, so phishing attacks, these are social engineering techniques that trick users to pretend to be legitimate users. Let's say, I may give an example. Someone sends you an email from maybe an hacker, but he pretends to be maybe your colleague here at UBC. So in doing that, is tricking you maybe with an attachment or a link. Once you click on that link, it will steal your login credentials. You'll be able to access your let's say account or systems. Even you can go ahead, use those logins to log into your account and compromise, let's say, UBC systems. So that's one of the threats. Then we look at also malware. These are malicious softwares, such as viruses, spyware. There are many, quite many. So they usually infiltrate our systems and steal our data for other purposes. Then we also have ransomware. It's quite on the rise. This is where an individual accesses data or systems and steal data and ask for payment.
Recently I saw something of hackers on commercial banks.
Yes. So usually they attack the systems, gain the access, steal information, and ask for ransom or payment from the organizations. Yes. So it's common. It's on the rise. So we need to come in with some certain measures to make sure that all these threats are mitigated, and in case maybe they happen, we reduce the impact.
Now this brings me also, what measures can an individual take to ensure that their data is protected against these threats you've mentioned and many others?
Okay, thank you. That's a good question. Yes, we have quite a number of measures that we should put put in action to make sure that our data we share or our data is protected and secured. One, I may give an example of strong passwords and unique password that cannot be easily guessed by an hacker. You may find, I may give you an example. Most of the people use weak password. Some use their date of birth, name of their fiancés. Yeah. So this is a password. They can easily be guessed and be used against you. So in mitigating this or in avoiding such things, we need to have strong password and unique password in place. Remember, the longer password, the more is complex for someone to guess and use it as a target or use it as a vulnerability to attack you. There are quite many. We can look at having systems patched or using updated systems. Let's say I've talked about malware. So malware, to avoid such attacks, you have to use antivirus that are updated. You have to do regular, maybe if the updates available, you have to make sure that your systems are updated and patched. And then another thing, maybe we can also look at using these public Wi-Fis. They are not secure, some are not secure, so it's not advisable. You could move into a cafe, you find there's a free Wi-Fi, and you just tap on it and use it. So what you should take in mind that you should avoid such, because you never know. Hackers are always there. The techniques are always, these guys are so creative. Every time they come up with new techniques. So they may be targeting, let's say, some places, Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi, and attack all the users that are there. So keep this in mind that maybe once you're in a place and there's a public Wi-Fi, first understand whether it's secure, or if it's not secure, then you can use your data. But there are quite many measures. Let's say, for example, like organizations, those are for individuals. Organizations should have appropriate measures in place to protect our personal data. I may talk about physical security control measures. When I talk about physical security control measures, here I mean CCTV cameras, biometric door controls, security guards at the gate. I've seen when we entered, we had to first sign in. The guards, police personnel. So we are doing all this to harden the target. Yes, in the digital world, I may say we may not have 100% security for our systems, but we have to make sure that we provide, we make a target so hard for these bad actors, because they are always there and they are so creative. Every time there and then they come up with new techniques. So it's all upon us to act, to be vigilant, to make sure that our data is safe and secured. And even to the organization, they have said they must have appropriate measures in place to make sure that the data we entrust them with, our data, personal data, is secured and protected always.
Well, still looking at how you can protect your personal data, having known the challenges that can come, more so when we are in a world where some people earn a lot from misusing your data should they have access to it. ransom, others. Of course, this is private. There could be things that you don't want people to know regarding your personal data. Now, here I want to look at the element of the law, Baker. We know that for all security protections, the role of the law must be there. Now, when it comes to this particular topic of the day, how is the law helping in protection of personal data?
Thank you, Robert. That's a very good question. So the law starts with saying you should have a valid legal ground before you collect such data, personal data. And these laws are provided for, rather the grounds are provided for in the law, the Data Protection and Privacy Act. So one is consent. So before a person collects your data, they should have obtained your consent. And this consent should be very explicit. A person shouldn't say, well, you did not object, so that means you consented. No. And courts of law have actually gone ahead to recognize this. There is a judgment which has just been given against a petrol marketing and distribution company in Uganda in June. So what happened? An employee was told by her supervisors to dress up. They took her photos, and later they used it to market their products on billboards and even on social media. Later she was fired, and she sued them for having taken her pictures without her consent, because even during the process when they were taking the pictures, she was under duress being an employer. So she asked them, but why are you taking my pictures? This is not right. The supervisor told her to just proceed. So court recognized such circumstances and said, if you did not obtain explicit consent from this individual, letting them know where you're taking their photo, what you're going to use it for, how long you may keep it, then you wouldn't have obtained their consent, wouldn't have a ground. So the particular company was fined 5 million shillings for that particular lack of obtaining consent. So that's one of the ways through which your data in regarding to images is protected by the law. But consent is not the only ground. There are other grounds provided in that law, the Data Protection and Privacy Act. For government agencies, let's say you need to be issued with a national ID or even register a company with Uganda Registration Services Bureau. Now, these are government agencies which are established by law to do what they have to do. So for them, they rely on that legal ground provided in the establishing laws. Then the other, it could be contractual basis. If you enter into a contract, let me say with the ride-hailing company or even the e-commerce, they need to know where you are. So you agree to share your location with them so that they can be able to deliver their end of the contract or delivering those goods with you, to you. So those are some of the ways through which the law protects. But in case a person doesn't follow those particular provisions of the law on collection of data, then there are penalties. So these penalties, any individual that allows collection and use of personal information without regard to the law can be imprisoned between 3 months to 10 years. But then also the company itself that was using such information in violation of the law can also be fined up to 2% of its gross annual turnover. It doesn't stop there. If that individual whose information was misused and it wasn't protected in a way that safeguards their privacy, then that individual can actually go to a competent court of law and establish that they suffered mental distress and related aspects, and they are compensated. So, and this enforcement and implementation of that law is done by the Personal Data Protection Office. So the other way through which the protection can be extended is through receipt of complaints. We've received complaints mainly around digital money lenders who go ahead to issue loans, but then they access an entire phone book of a particular person. So in case a person defaults, they start calling everyone in the phone book, threatening them, clearly people who are not part of it. So how such people are protected, we investigate and we take the same mechanisms of working with police, proceeding to court. In short, that's how the law protects the collection and use of an individual's data.
And the last example you've used is so much on an increase, actually, because there are so many people who are offering online loans. And what happens in case someone fails to pay in time, then they have access to all the contacts in someone's phone. I found that actually when a friend of mine was telling me about that, first I objected. I told her, you're lying. You just want me to help you with the money so that you can clear these people. He said, no, these people are calling everybody in my phone book, telling them how I took. It was very little money. I think I just accumulated about 100,000. And I've taken long to pay. They're calling everybody from any person in my contact. I'm receiving phone calls left, center, Sasula Basajja, asking where am I located and all that. And I'm like, if they know, where does someone get the authority to check all contacts in my mobile phone?
That is a valid concern, and there's been a rise in such complaints. But maybe just to bring out on a lighter note, when we say 100,000 is little money, I think some of our viewers may disagree. But anyway, that is on a lighter note. But yes, it's growing, and we've noted that these companies are disregarding the law. The Data Protection and Privacy Act requires that before you actually collect, such as a person's entire phone book, you need to have what is called a privacy notice, letting individuals know and highlighting it, bring it to their attention. These documents are usually long, but we always advise, and also observing the principle of transparency in the law, that those areas of the privacy notice that will shock a person, such as obtaining their entire phone book, bring it to the person's attention before they select that box of accept, so that a person is fully aware that much as I'm taking this loan of 30,000, 50,000, or whichever amount, I'm giving away my entire phone book to another person to access it. So if a person objects, then clearly you can't go ahead. But there have been instances, unfortunately, where that information is hidden. It's not made transparent or visibly available to an individual. So, and also the other people on the other end of the line who are contacted, they are not even aware what could have happened. So we are increasingly enforcing around that, letting these digital money lenders know that they are violating the law, and there are some that will still proceed to prosecute. But at the end of it all, for the benefit of the entire market, we'll also, in the next 1 year, come up with a bit of guidance, letting them know if you are what we are calling a direct marketing or promotional marketing, if you're to get involved in it, or if you are to need to access people's information, maybe people who have defaulted on their loan, this is what you should follow. Because some of them, they explain that their business model is unique. They rarely ever meet these individuals. So for them, they think that harnessing this data is one of their securities, because digital money lenders rarely get security from the people they advance the loans to. But we told them, much as that's your business model, it should be compliant with the existing laws. Find ways where the market will trust you. Because if such a scenario happens, and then a person complains about it or tells a friend or a relative, then that means that they will, those other people told will never use such a product, because they know that they will be misusing their information. So this also goes out to all these digital money lenders, that yes, we have a carrot and stick. We've already talked about the stick, but we are also imploring you to look at the law, the carrot, because when we register them, we give them compliance tools to know how to safely use this information for the benefit of everyone. But that, it's something that we've also brought to their primary regulator, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, to explore ways to help the sector, so that the sector, we don't sink it, but then at the same time, we also don't put people's privacy at risk.
I'll go for a short break, and when I return, we'll still be discussing more regarding personal data protection. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Attention coffee farmers, traders and processors. Uganda Coffee Development Authority has important advice for a successful harvest season. Pick only red farm cherries to achieve good weight and high quality coffee. For natural processing, dry coffee on tarpaulin, concrete or clothing to avoid mold growth. Avoid heaping coffee on the floor. Store coffee in jute bags and in ventilated rooms on wooden pallets. For more information on good harvest practices, visit your nearest extension worker or Uganda Coffee Development Authority offices.
Road traffic crashes is one of the leading causes of death among young people aged 5 and 29 years. In 2022, Uganda registered 21,473 crashes, out of which 4,534 people died and 15,227 seriously injured. 22 people die every 100 crashes, and on average, we lose 12 people daily. Legacy Road Safety Initiative, in partnership with KCCA, Ministry of Works and Transport, Ministry of Health, Uganda Police Force, Red Cross, Rosaku, Boda Boda Industry Uganda, have organized the second Road Safety Marathon for the crash victims to help create awareness, build cohesion among stakeholders, train first responders at black spots, and support a health facility. The marathon will take place on the 23rd of July 2023, starting at 7 a.m. from Nakasero Primary School grounds. Book your kits at 25,000 from Legacy Road Safety Initiative offices located at Old Kampala Chicken House, 2nd floor, room 18, or 8th Street, Safeway, Rightway offices, Total Energies, Ovino Mall, Boda Boda Industry Uganda, or visit www.lrs-initiative.org to register. Call 0752-605-479 or 0776-598-817 or 0414-698-675. Proudly powered by Daxi Driving School and Wava Water. Run to save a limb.
Junko.
Yo.
Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda wange. Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break, and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. We are looking at personal data protection. Now, very important also that I want us to look into is how does one register, because you're talking about people who collect this personal data information. For you to be able to effectively execute your work, how does one register? And here, let Norman take us through this. If maybe I collect data for any purpose, the law mandates me to register with you, with this authority, but how do I do it?
Okay, thank you, Robert. The registration process is very simple and seamless. The process is automated. Everything is done online. So we made sure that we make it so simple for anyone to make sure that there are no glitches here and there. So you're able to register. The way I've said, the process is automated. So if you're a data collector, data controller or processor, or even an individual who may be doing some, let's say you're doing your PhD and you want maybe to collect data for purposes of research. So you also are able to register. So the process is very simple, is automated. You go to our portal. We have a portal where everything is done, which is pdpo.go.ug. And once you go there, it will give you a landing page where there are two options in the right corner. One is register, another one is login. So in this case, you click on register, and it will give you the form where you put in the details of the company, the telephone number, the email, and the person who is helping the organization to register. Then you will, once you do that, you will have registered with the office or created the account. So once you create the account, you receive login credentials that you use to access the account. And once you access the account, that's when you access the application form. It's very simple. It has only 7 sections, 1 to 7. So you go through those sections. They are quite simple. Already the details that are there, so you just click on those drop-down boxes and fill in appropriate to your organization. So once you're done, at the end of the form 3, another one is called the proof of payment. Then another one is called a supporting document. In this case, we look at data protection policy, we look at information security policy, or privacy policy. So once you have that, you attach those 3 documents and you submit your application. So once you submit your application, it's received by the office, and it goes through review, technical, legal, and once everything is okay, your application takes 1 to 3 days to get approved, and you receive your certificate. And maybe once we receive your application and we find out maybe there's some details that are missing, or maybe you missed some steps, we usually get back to you through a call or email, or sometimes we organize Zoom calls to support, to make sure that the registration process is seamless and you get help from the office. Yes.
1 to 2 days seems shorter time for you to scrutinize, given what here Baker told me. 1 to 3 days, really?
Yes. Why? We didn't want to, okay, the law says can go up to 30 days, but we are looking at reducing all that gap, because you may find some NGOs, okay, we've been registering some NGOs, and you find that they are filing returns, or they are processing work permits for their people, employees, and or maybe they are filing returns with NGO Bureau, and in doing that, they because now registering with the NGO Bureau, you have to have our certificate, the data protection certificate. So we don't want to prolong the process. We want to cut that, you know, make it shorter and so easy to get this certificate. So we make sure that we review into the shortest time possible, and that's why I said that if we find maybe the things that are not or we are not maybe filled in correctly, we reach out to make sure that we make this so easy to get. Maybe my colleague Baker can add on that.
Okay, quick one.
Thank you, Robert. So why it takes a very short period of time is that the forms which the individuals, organizations are required to fill in and submit for a review have really been automated. So most of the areas that would require a person to provide information, we've already given the guidance within the portal itself. So if you're to collect personal data, we already have examples within the portal. The person just has to select what applies to them. And then in respect to how long they may keep the information. So it is a portal, yes, but then it has a lot of self-explanatory notes within, making it easy. But then beyond the portal itself, automating the forms required in the law, we've also made videos and uploaded them on our YouTube channel. But we also have guide documents, so very many people can access these documents from our websites, social media handles, and read them, so that by the time they go back to the portal to complete, they already know what is expected of them. On our end, when that is done, and you've actually followed as required, it makes the approval process way faster. So that's why it takes a short period of time.
Okay, now I go to what is more interesting, and I really know our viewers are very excited to know how this is done. Now, how, in case of my data being misused, how do I register a complaint? Because we've had these incidents. Where do I start? How do I go through this?
Where you start from, we have a number of channels through which you can register your complaint or lodge it. One is that you can go through our portal that Norman has talked about, pdpo.go.ug. Then at the top bar there is where there is file a complaint. So that can be done through such an avenue. But in case you want to do so through your phone, specifically a feature phone, you can use USSD or SMS using the code *260# and you select number 1, which is privacy, and it will be able to capture your details that we will receive. But then you can also send an email to complaints@pdpo.go.ug. But there's also an avenue of walking up to our offices. We are on Lugogo Bypass within the compound of NITAU, so we can receive your complaint from there as well. But also on our various social media handles, Twitter and LinkedIn, even Instagram. We also have a TikTok channel. We use the username of PDPO Uganda. You can receive your complaint and someone from our team will reach out and get more information.
Wow, very interesting. Now you don't have to worry in case your data, personal data has been misused. There is a place you can go to and seek redress. Let me just have your parting shot, and I'll begin with Norman here.
Okay, thank you, Robert. My parting shot would be I'm encouraging or calling upon all the data collectors, controllers and processors, and even individuals that use personal data to come and register with the office. As we have said, the process is very simple and seamless. It's automated. You just need to go to our portal, which is pdpo.go.ug, create the account, go through the process, which has a few sections to complete, and submit your application and have your organization or your company registered. And in doing this, the advantages that are coming with that, one, better data management, two, even it increases confidence of data subjects in your company organization, and even to avoid the penalties, because the law is clear. Becca talked about it. The law is clear. Everyone who collects, processes or controls personal data of Ugandan citizen must register with the office. So I call upon all falls in such category to come and register with the office. And then lastly, on data protection, on cyber security, also people should make sure that they secure their information, make sure they have, the way we've talked about the controls to mitigate the threats, make sure that they have controls in place. We've talked about strong password, don't share your information, everything online. These days people just post, share your sensitive information that can be used against you. So hackers are there, bad guys are there, so let's protect our data. Security begins or starts with us.
Okay, Baker, as we move out of here.
Thank you, Robert, and to the viewers that have made time this morning. The parting shot, picking up from where Norman stopped, is that please educate yourself, inform yourself about what data protection is about. Starting with looking at the law, good enough, we've already broken down the provisions of the law. You can go to our website, pdpo.go.ug. The information center, individuals, you can learn a lot from there, but also even organizations as well, your responsibilities. Our social media handles, we post messages every day, so please follow our handles, PDPO Uganda, and then you're also encouraged to attend our webinars. We have monthly webinars on the last Thursday of the month, just an hour. We bring in experts to talk about different aspects of the law, responsibilities of those who collect data, so we encourage you to always attend, because if you are not aware of what the law says and what your rights are, it will be very hard for you to assert your rights, or to even lodge a complaint and be able to tell that this person has misused your data. But beyond that, we also encourage you to inform others if you've learned. because as the office, we can, yes, we come here on TV, talk to people, but you have a bigger impact because you can talk to people at your office that actively listen to you at your home, on your way to wherever you're going, the people possibly that you party with, so they have your ear. Please talk to them. Where there's been misuse, assert your rights. I've already given you where to complain from. Lodge your complaint. We'll always reach out to you and ensure that we bring to book all those that misuse personal data of Ugandan residents.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Beka Abidi Kuja and Norman Kushaba from that is the Personal Data Protection Office. Thank you so much for that information. And I hope if you've been watching keenly, now you know that all hope is not lost in case your data, personal data, has been misused by those that you were able to give them the data willingly, because consent is one of the things that is very important here. If there wasn't consent, well, still there is a way to ensure you seek and get justice. Now those responsible for collecting, processing, the law is very clear, so go get registered with the office. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow. God bless you.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.